Hello everyone, welcome to Berlin Chess Kids. Today I will show you the gameplay by Arystanbek and Sergei. And the game starts with the pawn to e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4. And now the black capture the pawn, c takes d5, c takes d4. Then c3 was played and now knight to f6. Then the c takes d4 and here you have a knight capture the pawn. And here is the first 5 move, and you can see in this position the black is slightly better in this position as it's winning a pawn in the opening. And the game continue with the white continue to push the pawn and pressure and attacking the knight. And here the queen can come to a5 and check the king. So in this game, you suggestion you can play with the queen to a5, and with this, if you bring out the knight to defense, then the knight will just capture and the pawn capture. Then the knight can goes to e5, and after this, if the knight capture again, then here you have the queen attack the pawn at c3 and you have a multiple fault. And after capture the pawn, if you protect with the bishop to d2, and again the queen will capture the knight and again attack the king and will able to capture the pawn. And you just develop with the pawn bishop to e2, then the queen can just capture the pawn. And at this position the black is clearly better with winning 3 extra pawn. And another suggestion that you can play is queen to b6, and after this the queen will able to attack the f2 pawn and checkmate the king. And if the pawn capture the knight, then the queen will just capture the pawn and it will be a checkmate. So if you play queen to b6 and you will use the queen to c2 to protect the pawn, and at the same time the pawn will just attack the knight, and after this the queen will just continue to play queen to a8, and the continuation will be such as like knight f to d2, then after knight capture and you have a queen capture and go for the action, and also the queen will protect the pawn. And if the queen just capture and you use the bishop to capture, and the knight will continue to d4 and go for the fork and keep on the attack. And here the black will be slightly better in this position. And if the white to continue to develop and protect the square, then the black can have a strong move such as e5, keep on the develop and bring out another bishop into the board and go for a short castling. So after castling, then you can bring f6 to defend the pawn, and here you have a very solid structure for the black, and the black is slightly better in this position by winning the extra 1 pawn. So in the actual game, the black play a passive move such as move back the knight to b8, and now the bishop to c4 will have the compensation of the loss of the pawn, and you have a strong, very strong attack. So after this move, the knight to d6 to attack the bishop, and here the bishop move away to d3, and now g6 was played trying to bring out the bishop and attack the diagonal at a1 h8 and attack the pawn at b2, and they go for the short castling. And after this, the white storm with the h pawn, and here the bishop to g7, and now h5 to attack and destroy the structure of the king side, as the white assume the black will go for the king side castling. So the condition, the black play knight to a6, and here you have the first stand move, and the position now become equal even though the black is winning one extra pawn. Then the white continue to develop by go for a short castling, and now knight to c5 attacking the bishop and keep on the pressure. And after this, knight to c3 was played, and now the knight just capture the bishop and the queen capture back. Then the black go for a short castling, and after this, bishop to f4 was played, and now the knight to f5 keep on the develop, and after this a d6 was played to keep on pressure, and here the pawn capture back the pawn at d6. And here is the first 15 move, and you can see that the position become equal for both sides, with both has been castling to the king side and have a very solid defense. So after this, the bishop capture the pawn and attack the rook, and now the knight capture and the queen capture back. And here the best idea will be the queen b6 to go for the action of the queen or attack the pawn at b2, and this will keep the balance in the game. So for example, go to b6, and if the queen goes to g3, then it will capture, and the black will be slightly better in this position. So after queen, the black play b6 and preparing to move the bishop up to attack the diagonal. And after this, the knight goes to d5 and keep on the attack to play knight to e7 and check the king. And this, the white threatened to win with the knight e7. So after this, bishop to b7 was played. And now after this position, you can play a knight goes to e7 and check the king, and the king move to e8. Then the best move for at this position will be move the knight to e5, and here you have a multiple idea to attack, such as taking the pawn, or goes to knight c6 and attack the queen, and also you can have the pawn to attack the pawn and bring the queen back to h2 and checkmate the king at h7. So if assume that you did not take the knight, you move a a6, and now the pawn capture, and if the pawn capture, then the knight 5 can go to c6 and attack the queen. And if the bishop takes the knight, then you have the queen to h2 and check the king, and now anything move will be a checkmate, such as bishop defense, and you have captured the bishop and it will be a checkmate. And another suggestion, if you use the knight 5 takes the g6 pawn, then the king can goes to h7, and now the queen can goes to d3 and have the open check and win the rook. So any move such as b5, then you can just use the knight to capture the rook and have the open check, and now king to h6, and then the queen will goes to h3 and check the king and from the side. And after this, king to g5, and you continue storm with the f4 and check the king, and now the king to f6, and you just have a very beautiful checkmate with the knight, such as a knight to g8 and checkmate the king in the center of the square. So in the actual game, knight g5 was played, and now the a5 was played, and after this position, the pawn captured the g6 pawn, and with the idea of queen to h2 and checkmate at h7. And here the pawn capture, and after this, here come the brilliant beauty move by using the knight to take g6, and this will be winning, and the white will be clearly winning in the game. And in the actual game, the black capture with the pawn, and after this it will be mate in 3. And in this position the queen play queen to h2, and after this the black resign the game, and after king goes to inside, then you have queen to h7, and it will be a checkmate. So at this position, after knight takes g6, if you move the king to g8, and then you have a continuation with the knight to e7 and check the king. And now if the king back to h8, then you can play queen to d3 and checkmate at h7. And now you just defend with the bishop, the queen will just take, and you defend with the rook, the queen will continue to take. And now if the queen goes to defense, you will use the queen to go for a sacrifice. And after queen takes, then you have the knight to f7, and another again a beautiful knight checkmate. So after queen to g6, there you have nothing much you can do with this position, and the white is clearly winning. If you play h takes g6, then the queen can just mate in h2, and this position is not take the pawn and checkmate. If you take the pawn to checkmate at this position, and this will be a mistake, because after queen capture the pawn, and now the bishop can go to e4 to go for prevent the queen to checkmate. And now if the knight capture, then there will be no checkmate, but instead the white will just be a clearly better only. So after queen goes to e8, and if you knight back to this position, then the queen will just capture the queen, and it will be winning, and there will be no checkmate. So if this queen capture and then the rook will capture, then the position will be equal at this position. And with this, thank you.